Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Daisy. For today's video, I'm going to be reading some of my subscribers' scary stories. So if you're interested, grab your snacks, grab your cold weekend, and let's get straight into it. Okay, so starting off with story number 1. Hi Daisy, my name is Vanessa. Hi Vanessa, thank you for writing in. I hope you're doing well. I have so many stories that I would love to share with you. My parents come from 2 different pueblos in Mexico that are more than 100 years old, and boy do they have a lot of spooky stories. There is one in particular that always gives me the heebie-jeebies. This happened to my uncle on my dad's side of the family about 20-30 years ago in a small pueblo of Carrillo Puerto in Nayarit. My uncle at the time did not have a vehicle and would need to take the only bus that would drive by the entrance of the pueblo, which is about a 15-20 minute walk. Now keep in mind, the pueblo is in the hills, so the road to the pueblo has no streetlights, and vehicles would rarely pass by, as it was very rare to own a vehicle back in the day. At night it is pitch black and the road will only be illuminated by the light of the moon or if you carry a flashlight. Well, one night my uncle was dropped off by the bus as always. It was a long day, so he was eager to get home to a warm dinner. The night was beautiful with a sky full of stars that seemed to be brighter than ever with a gorgeous full moon. My uncle did not need a flashlight as the moon was bright enough for him. As he was making his way up the road, he could see the lights of the pueblo, but also noticed there was someone else up ahead walking down the road towards his direction. As my uncle and the individual got closer, he noticed it was his friend from the pueblo. As he got closer to him, he noticed that he looked very sickly and had huge bags under his eyes, as if he had not slept in days. My uncle shook hands with him and was shocked at how cold his friend's hands were. He ignored it as it was a chilly night. He spoke with him for a few minutes and asked him where he was off to. His friend told him he was going down to another little pueblo that was nearby. After 10 minutes of talking to his friend, they both said their goodbyes and continued on their way. Upon arriving at the pueblo, my uncle noticed there were some comrades sitting outside their house enjoying the night. As my uncle approached them, he asked them about his friend he ran into earlier. He asked if they knew if he was okay, as he looked very sick. His comrade looked at him confused and said, "I think you need to sit down. Toño was in a horrible accident last night. He was feeding the cows and a bull came from behind him and struck him. He landed hard on his head and never woke up. He was pronounced dead. They have his body at the church right now for viewing." It took my uncle a minute to understand what was going on. To this day, my uncle still turns pale when he talks about his encounter with the paranormal. I hope you enjoyed this story. I have many more that I would love to share in the near future. Vanessa, please send more stories. I would love to hear about them. I swear, your poor uncle, I'm sure he had a mini heart attack, because that is crazy. The fact that he even shook his deceased friend's hand and he felt it like cold. Oh my god, poor thing. Yeah, no wonder why he gets pale after recounting that. I would too. But thank you so much, Vanessa. Please send in your stories. I would love to hear more about your family stories and that pueblitos history. I need to know about it. Now moving on to the next story. Hi Daisy, my name is Axel. Story number 1, La Bruja. Let me start off by saying that this story was told by my mom to me, and that brujas are not fake, they are real. Do I have evidence? No. Just stories and the fact that we had a bruja in our family. My mother had a tia who lived in Mexico and was a bruja. She started off by doing white magic, which was supposed to help others contact dead relatives and such. A lot of my family members have had this thing called un don, a spiritual gift from God. Anyways, that tia bruja envied that. That's why she turned to black magic. Anyways, one of her rituals required her to kill a newborn. I know, very terrible. One of my family members happened to have a child who was 1 month old, and that is who she planned to take. Well, one night, the tia who had the 1 month old woke up one night unknowing of la tia bruja's intentions. She went to check up on her baby when she discovered a coyote creeping on her child. The coyote quickly picked up the child with its mouth and jumped out the window. Her husband woke up and quickly grabbed his gun and ran outside, where he chased the coyote down and killed it, quickly picking up his child who was unharmed. The next day, my mom's tia got the news that her tia La Bruja was shot to death last night. The tia Bruja was found dead exactly where my uncle had killed the coyote the night before. What the heck? No such thing as a coincidence. That's all I'm gonna say, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. So story number 2. El Don, the gift from God. My mother has these random dreams where me and my siblings are swimming in dirty water. Depending on which child she sees in the dream swim in that dirty water ends up getting sick. This happens a lot. Weird enough, she had a dream that all 6 of us were swimming in dirty water. That was the first dream she has had where we were all together. That week, we ended up getting COVID. I know it might not sound too strange, but I think it's just a comforting way of God telling my mother to unite us for the bad times to come. Sometimes she dreams of calaveras, skulls, and dreams that there is so much food around her. She has now correlated that to death, due to the fact that family members tend to have died a few days after dreams like that. I have 2 more stories of family members who've had different types of gifts if you like to hear them. Thank you for taking the time to read these. Also, sorry if my spelling, grammar is bad. I'm sitting in the waiting room about to get a facial. Yes, Axel, you go get that facial. We love that. And of course, send in those stories. I'm always fascinated when it comes to people que tienen el don, when people have the spiritual gift. I'm always curious to know practically every little detail, to be honest. But thank you so much. Thank you for taking out the time to write to me, and in the waiting room about to get a facial. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. Big hugs. Now moving on to the last story. Hey girl, here's my boyfriend William's creepy encounter with an entity of the woods. Before I was born, my parents built a cabin in the northern White Mountains of Arizona. As a kid, we would go up there every chance we got. Summer break was spent up there, Memorial Day, etc. My parents had friends up there with kids my age, and we'd always run around the woods, hanging out, and just being kids. We used to tell scary stories of an old abandoned property down the way from all of our cabins, but we would never go there. You could not mess this property even if you tried. Going down the dirt road to our cabin, there was this giant field on the left. Right in the middle of it was a property that was clearly abandoned and had been for decades. It had quite a few structures on it, a large green 2-story barn, a red airplane hangar, and a white tractor barn. It also had a house nestled up on a hill with the only tree on the entire property. The house looked eerie with its broken windows and peeling paint. The tree was always filled with crows, something straight out of a horror movie. As kids, we would never dare to go there. We would maybe venture towards the front of the property line if we were really daring. As teenagers, wanting an adrenaline fix though, we would finally venture over there. By my sophomore year of high school, we began to go to the property routinely. We even went there at night a few times and explored the many different buildings on the property, always curious on what we would find inside. We found a bunch of odd things there, but one day I opened the drawer and gasped at what I found. There was this old workshop building that had an old workbench in it. I curiously opened one of the drawers and found something I recognized. A Jar Jar Binks, Star Wars character. I didn't know, sorry, my bad. Notebook that I had when I was a kid. It was mine as it had my childhood chicken scratch all over it along with drawings I made. My name was written in it, and so were the names of my siblings, as we used to keep track of score on a game. Dumbfounded that it was in this workshop, I thumbed through it and found some handwriting that I didn't recognize on the last few pages. None of my friends nor my siblings knew how it got there, or worse, whose handwriting was in the back of it. In hindsight, we should have taken this as a sign to stop coming there, but we didn't. We continued going to the abandoned property to explore it and get away from our parents. By this point, we had made the top portion of the workshop into a hangout spot. We would hear the floorboards creak and other scary noises, but we never let it get in the way of us going there. We all thought that we could take anything that came our way. Thinking back to how I acted when I was that age, I was never scared of anything. I was always the first one to go investigate when something sounded amiss. Hell, I was the first one to suggest we go over there. Other than the weird appearance of the notebook, nothing really stopped me or any of us from going there until the summer of my junior year, which was 2012. In the summer of 2012, I was 16, about to turn 17 that July. I had recently grown a new fondness of dirt biking and the freedom it would give me. I had just started riding earlier that year over spring break with my best friends named Logan. On this day, we had spent the majority of the day riding the bikes down our normal trails. We had been riding since the morning and we both decided that we would end the day over at the abandoned barn. Logan had been there plenty of times with me and we both hadn't been over there in a week or so. It was close to sunset and we had stopped at my parents' cabin to get some water and eat dinner quickly. We hopped on our dirt bikes and we both started making our way to the property. Being on the bigger, faster bike, I beat Logan to the property by a few minutes. I pulled in the long driveway and turned around in front of the hangar so that I could watch Logan pull in, and we would decide what we would do from there. I let the bike idle in neutral and just sat waiting for him to come. To get some idea of where I was waiting, I was right behind the hangar. To my left was the green workshop, and in front of me, about 20 feet, was this old white tractor barn. It was in bad shape. The doors had fallen off years prior and had been crumbled to dust by the time we started going over there. On both sides of the barn were huge 15-foot doors for big equipment to get into, and on the left of the door was a small regular-sized door for someone to go in. Since all the doors had fallen off the barn, you can see right through the large doors, right to the other side. There were also 3 windows on each wall of the barn. However, you cannot see on the left side of the regular-sized door since the door was about 2 feet in from the wall. This is all very important to help visualize what I saw that night. As I am sitting there in front of the white tractor barn, I'm looking towards the driveway, which was to the left of the barn, waiting for Logan to pull up. I never felt uneasy or panicked. I just sat there patiently. At this point in time, I was pretty comfortable being on the property by myself. I'm looking towards the driveway when I see something large move in the tractor barn out of the corner of my eye. I turn my head quickly to look at the barn and I see nothing there. At first, I don't think much of it and turn back towards the driveway waiting for Logan. As I'm sitting there, I start to overthink that I even saw something move to begin with, that I'm just freaking myself out. Even though I'm reassuring myself that it was probably my eyes playing tricks on me, my eyes started to drift away from the road and towards the barn. I became transfixed on it as I saw a pale, skinny, white hand place itself on the left side of the regular door. I see this and I genuinely don't know what to make of it, but I can't move. I'm sitting on the bike just completely still, watching. Then I see another hand get placed on the door below it, and before I have time to process the other hand on the door frame, I see a head poke around the corner looking at me. I become paralyzed with fear. My ears started to ring and my head couldn't make any sense of what was looking at me. It was an extremely pale man with eyes darker than anything I'd ever seen in my life. It was hiding most of its body behind the wall and was just peering around the corner, looking straight at me. I started to panic, but I couldn't look away. I couldn't even move. I remembered thoughts running through my mind telling me this can't be real and I'm just seeing things. But then I noticed something that would confirm this was real. In its eyes are the reflection of the headlight on my dirt bike. Then I knew there is no way this is my imagination. My heart started to beat faster and started to sweat. There was no way I was going to take my eyes off whatever this thing was. I mean, the only way I can describe it is it looked like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. That's the only comparison I can make to this thing that I saw. And as if it couldn't get any worse, I saw it open its mouth and smile at me, revealing some short, sharper teeth. Up until this point, I was too scared to think that my life was in danger. I guess I hadn't felt threatened by it, more just unnerved and scared looking at it because I genuinely had no idea what this thing was. Once I saw its teeth looking at me, I knew I had to get the hell out of there. I knew whatever this thing, entity, animal, person was, it wanted to do me harm. Right as I made the decision to put the bike in gear and hit the road, I heard Logan's dirt bike and saw him pull in the driveway. I threw the bike into first gear and gunned it off the line, yelling at him to turn around and leave. Before he could ask why, I was already past him and at the end of the driveway. I looked back and saw him quickly turn the bike around and started hauling ass towards me. We got back to the cabin and I was completely panicked, sweating, panting, just terrified. You know what, hold on, let me take a break. This is crazy. What the hell? What the hell is this? Like, what could it be? Alright, Logan pulled in right behind me and I could see he was wide-eyed and spooked too. When he was turning around on the side of the barn, he saw something looking at him through the side window. Before I could start to describe what I saw, he beat me to it, saying he saw black beady eyes looking out at him. We both saw the same thing and it only confirmed that whatever was out there was real. Neither of us went back to that property again, and a few years ago it was bought and a lot of the structures were torn down, including the old tractor barn where this thing was. I'm 25 years old now and I still go up to the cabin all the time. Typing this story has made me relive this event all over again. I've told this story before to my siblings and some of my friends. It never fails to make me tear up thinking about the true terror I felt that day. Whatever I saw was real, and it haunts me to think about it. There have been weird things that have happened at our cabin. Those stories are for another day. And every time I'm alone out on the porch looking in the darkness of the pasture, I can't help but think of this thing I saw 9 years ago. This will probably haunt me until the day I die. Well, I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless. Hold on, hold on. I need a moment to calculate what I'm gonna say, because damn, what the hell. First of all, let me not forget your notebook. What the hell? Like, how did it end up at the workshop? Like, how did it go from your cabin to that workshop? I genuinely don't know. Like, what do you think? Like, how do you think that happened? That's bizarre. So, like, was this thing stalking you? Because that's even creepier. Hopefully that's not the case, and hopefully the fact that they have tear down those buildings, that it went with it. They teared it down, including it. Who knows what that is? And that's the scariest part, not knowing what that creature was. It really did give me the chills. So please send more stories. I'm sure everyone is wanting more stories. So if you guys do, let William know down below. William, we want more stories, because you guys, he wrote us 7 pages. 7 pages. The dedication, he gave us the juice, the details, and we love that here. We love all the details. So let him know down below. Thank you so much, William, for taking out the time. 7 pages, you did not play. You came with all the details. So thank you so much, William. So that was it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you guys got spooked out. Thank you to everyone that has written in their stories. If you would like to share your story, send it in at daicyspooks@gmail.com. I'll leave all the information down below in the description box. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.